want your body, no, I don't need your name. Drop the heart.
I hope you are hungry to death because it is a buffet of Justin Michael Williams. I am so excited that he offered to join the show here to talk about his new book. Justin is an amazing world-renowned yoga instructor. He's also having so much fun being a musician. He has some amazing albums out right now. And he is known for performing all over the world. He's also a spiritual guide. He has shared the stage with the likes of Tammy Simon from Sounds True and Deepak Chopra. His new book is called Stay Woke, and we're going to be talking about it. We had so much fun talking, however, that I had to divvy up the conversation into two parts. This is part one. We are going to be talking about the book. We're going to be talking about his podcast, Motivation for Black People. And don't you worry, I'm going to be asking him, of course, what about the white people? It's going to be a fun conversation. I am Maria. This is the Strong Body, Strong Soul Show. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is the Strong Body, Strong Soul Show, like you just heard. It's about being strong in our bodies and being strong in our souls. But it's about losing our preconceived ideas of what those terms mean. They can mean so many different things, right? And Justin Michael Williams is here with me now. And we're going to have an amazing talk about his book coming up. We're going to be funny. We're going to be spicy. We're going to be sad maybe a little bit. We're going to talk about his book. But before we do that, I just want to have all of us kind of relax and really cherish this time that we have together. Because you right there tuning in from whatever medium you're tuning into us right now, I so appreciate you trusting me with your time, pushing that play button. Time is precious.
Yeah.
And social media, whether it's YouTube, podcasting, Instagram, whatever it may be, there's such an onslaught of information out there. And the number one power that we have is in what we consume, what we choose to consume.
Yeah, it affects us in so many ways.
It really does.
Yeah.
Let's take a deep breath in before we begin our conversation even. I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes. Let go of anything that's going on in your life right now.
I think that the sound in the background's really perfect right now, too. It's like right when we try to get quiet, then the sirens begin, you know?
Yes.
It's so perfect metaphor for life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just receive the information, the feeling, the energy that Justin and I are going to be sharing with you right now. I wonder where those people are flying to. And on that note, let's start with my first question for you is what you tell people when thoughts like that airplane flying overhead, how do you settle those down?
How do you say? Well, okay, so this is actually
right?
Yes, yeah, and I know this is a big question that
it's a
people have.
huge question.
Yeah, is how do I think it's one of the number one things that people say when they come to me, especially when they're interested in learning about meditation or they're afraid to meditate or they think they can't meditate.
Yes.
They say like, oh, I can't get my mind to stop thinking.
Yes.
Or how do I get my mind to stop thinking?
Yes.
Or what do I do with all these thoughts? And one of the things that I always like to tell people is that meditation is not about getting your mind to stop thinking. It's about getting your thoughts to work for you instead of against you. Because we're going to always be thinking. And, you know, I say how so many people say that they think the goal of meditation is to get their mind to stop thinking. I think it's a huge myth of meditation that so many people have been told that keeps them from actually meditating. And I think it's the equivalent of saying, oh, okay, guess what, Maria? What we have to do right now is we're going to meditate, so let's get our hearts to stop beating first.
Ridiculous.
We're not going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? Like, our lungs have to stop breathing for us to be able to meditate.
Right.
Your mind thinking, billions of neurons smashing together to create thoughts. And thoughts are one of the most magical things about the human mind and our ability to perceive ourselves in the universe and learn and grow and change it. And like all of that is because of our ability to think. So I look at meditation as a way to harness our thoughts, to help them work for us instead of against us. And that when storms come by, these storms of thoughts, similar to that airplane that flew by, that we learn that we're actually centered in something else so that the storm can just pass us by.
Right.
Without us having to drown in the rain.
Right. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to add to that, because those thoughts that are coming may be knocking on your door
to try to tell you something. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes. Oftentimes they are. And we spend so much time and energy, Maria, pushing things down.
Yes.
Just to function in our day. And I get it. It's like you can't have your trauma and your thoughts about how your kids are going to die and blah, 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 all these worries. You can't have all of that come up when you're in your day working and doing what you're supposed to be doing, because you have to be functioning.
Right.
But when you sit down to meditate and you get quiet, all of a sudden you start to hear the sirens go off and the things, and it's coming to say, okay, what am I trying to alert you to?
Right.
And some thoughts are just there to pass.
Right.
But some things are trying to alert you, and so if we don't get still enough to listen, we don't know what that is.
Yes. I love that. Okay, so this interview is about your book. Okay, Stay Woke is coming out, and you guys heard before we came on here, Justin Michael Williams is phenomenal.
Oh.
He is a meditation teacher, a yoga instructor, an author, a musician.
It's been fun to add all these new titles. It's really fun. It's a really hard thing when people ask me if they mean, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh gosh.
I know,
I don't know how to answer that question anymore. But it's a hard question for a lot of people who are entrepreneurial to answer.
Well, and a lot of people say, don't diversify too much because...
That's the old way of doing things.
But if you're good at things, it's a responsibility. I really do think it's a responsibility not to shut it down.
Yeah. There's a difference between distracting and diversifying.
Yeah. Before we talk about your book, I wanted to talk about your podcast for a moment.
Okay.
And a lot of what I'm about, and the show here is about diversity, variety, inclusion, okay? And sometimes our vocabulary can get in the way a little bit, right? Of course.
Yeah.
And we react to different terms based on our prior history, of course, and our upbringing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about your podcast.
Great, ask
about
me.
the title.
That's a good question. I knew you were going to say
ready?
that. Yeah.
I got hooked on it, you guys. I was binge listening to Justin recently.
Yeah, thank you.
But the title of it.
Yeah. Tell them,
Motivation for Black people.
Yes, that's the title.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
And also for creators under 40.
Yeah.
Hello. So we got two things to talk about.
Yeah.
We have a racial thing and an age thing.
Right.
But it is for everybody.
Well, I want to know what you thought when you saw that, and then what you came to after listening.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was going to be about Black issues, the entire thing. And it wasn't.
Right.
I mean, well, Black Lives Matter with Alicia Garza, right?
Yeah.
That was such a powerful movement.
Yeah.
And it affects everybody, of course.
Yeah.
White people are marching too.
Yeah.
It's everybody's all together.
Yeah.
But it was a huge impact on our society.
Yeah.
And it's great, and it's still going.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I also was really impressed with, by the way, you had a father-son.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Ted
and they
and
were
Jalen.
talking about the man box.
Yep, Ted and Jalen bunch.
I loved that.
Yeah, they have an amazing organization called A Call to Men, and for all the men listening, I mean, they are fantastic. The episode we did with Ted and Jalen, I think we called it Will the Real Men Please Stand Up?
Yeah,
or something like
that.
Yeah.
And as a woman, there we go too, a gender thing.
Yeah.
But I was okay listening to it, of
course. Yeah.
And a lot of what, sometimes with social media, when I'm talking to people that I'm working with, I'll encourage them to block people. If they need to, they need to. If they see somebody really negative or some weirdo kind of coming out of nowhere, block people.
Protect your energy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But you have to use that power wisely.
Yeah.
Because it is so important to listen to perspectives.
To new perspectives.
That are different than yours.
Yeah,
of course.
absolutely.
So of course I want to hear the motivation for Black people, and I
Yeah.
want to see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How did you come up with that title?
Yeah, it actually, okay, so believe it or not, the title came to me in a meditation. Came as clear
Love that.
as like the clearest message I've had in a long time, actually. And this was 2 years ago. And it was after the election, and I had been in this question of just asking, what can I do to bring positivity and to use my skills and my talents and the things that I really believe in to help support the movement for equality and diversity and everything that we all believe in.
Yes.
And the message that in my meditations and my prayers and the message that came to me was start a podcast. And it was very clear that it was going to be called Motivation for Black People. And I actually, believe it or not, had the exact same response. I said, but what about all the other people that I, and I'm biracial.
And now that thought is in the title of your book.
Yes.
What about the rest of us?
For the rest of us.
Yes,
but you know what was so important to me? And so this is why I stuck with that and why I got really clear is because all the motivation and self-help stuff that's in the world is specifically for everyone else. And there's very few outlets and not that much content that's out there that is willing to put certain topics into a uniquely Black perspective. And the perspective is different when you have 400 years of slavery and, systemic oppression and then imprisonment and the whole thing that has happened. There's a slightly different angle that comes with some of this. And so some of the episodes, are they specifically Black? No. But some of the episodes are. And I'm not afraid to... I think a big part of my mission with Stay Woke and with my podcast is to use some of the content that I know has changed my life. And oftentimes I've been the only person of color in the room, very frequently in spaces where I've been teaching and leading, and to take some of this content, that spiritual self-help content that has changed my life, and put it into a context that is a little bit more aligned with the real lives that people are living. And that's been my goal.
Of course. I love that, because just like we were talking earlier, for me, the same kind of idea, I'm trying to make spirituality and just being yourself and taking a moment to breathe before you push send on that email, before you vote, before you yell at your kids inside. Try and take a moment to think of how that's going to impact what's around you. Taking that time to do that in your real life. And it is different for everybody. I was laughing because I was saying going through Costco, I can feel connected to people. And everybody doesn't go to Costco.
No, right, exactly.
But it's okay. In our content, in what we're doing, in your podcast, and in your book, you're talking about what's happened to you. Your experience. But what has happened to you resonates with other people.
Exactly.
Because they've gone through the same experience. Or very similar.
And I think one thing, for example, on the podcast in particular, a really powerful thing that happened with me and one of my good friends is I did this episode where I interviewed a guy named Arjuna O'Neill, and he was talking about being shot when he was younger. And it was interesting because Arjuna and I were talking, and this is going to be a very generalized statement, but so it's not true for everybody, but most Black people that I know, most of us that I know at least one person who's been shot. Probably in our family. I can a dozen I can name, that I know either through my sister or in my family. And I was talking to one of my good friends, and he's white, and he said, Justin, I don't know anyone who's been shot. I can't even name one person that I know who's been shot.
Right.
And I'm not saying that is a Black or white issue in particular, but it is gun violence, systemically affects in certain communities people of color more. And so, okay, now how does this motivational content that we're talking about apply even there?
Right.
And this is something that's not being discussed in kind of the generalized motivation and self-help world.
I completely agree. And that along the same lines, that whole thing, Ruth King. Right? Talking about white privilege. The first step in anything is awareness. For your friend who's white to say, hey, I don't know anybody who's been shot. But for him to realize that. And to know that it is happening elsewhere. It's really scary when people say, no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Nobody gets raped. Just because they don't know anybody and it hasn't happened to them, it's not real. I understand. I also, along those same lines, by the way, I just wanted to bring up, we all go through different traumas in our life. And we use those to teach. Certain people have that ability to communicate and to transmit that experience into something valuable that can help others. And that's what you do.
That's my
through
mission.
Everything you do. I love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But Everyone can't do that. Some people, even going through living in a black neighborhood with gunshot holes in your house, other people in your same situation may not be able to write that book.
Right, of course not.
Of course not.
And they don't have to.
They don't have to because that's your job.
Yeah.
That's your calling to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you for doing it.
Thank you.
You have to do it.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just, sometimes I have a friend who is a domestic violence advocate. Not advocate, but
I get what you're saying.
She's
works
gone
in service
through it,
of
and she has a
domestic violence.
book.
Yeah.
And she's starting to get a little bit of criticism about talking about it too much. And so I feel kind of bad for her. But I see that happening in some situations.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really scary when it gets to that point when you take something as serious as domestic violence or whatever it may be. Oh, that happens all the time.
Right. Right.
No. The people who have the power to speak about it should do so.
Yeah, I agree.
To keep it alive and to prevent it from happening. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about food.
Okay, food. Let's talk about food. I'm down.
Because my concept of bringing you here onto the show is to give everybody out there a little taste of Justin. Because he's got so much going on. The buffet of Justin.
Yeah.
I just love it. And like we said, you know, musician, author, all that kind of great, great stuff. But let's start with your grandma. Let's start with your grandma.
Okay.
Because I know those are really deep memories for you.
Yeah.
And I know the way your book is written starts with your grandma.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
Yeah. That's the whole thing.
Explain how the whole recipe works.
Yeah.
What you were thinking when you were explaining that. I love it.
So my grandmother is a really important part of my life, and she's passed on now. And you know, several years ago, she got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Doctors told her she had a couple months to live. And it was a shock to our family. She was not old, 67, which I don't think is old. No. Very seemingly healthy, and you know, it was such a shock. And when this happened, I flew home to Northern California, to the East Bay, where I'm from, a little town called Pittsburgh, California, which I love. And I was in Pittsburgh, and I walk into the door to see my grandmother, and she just pulled me in the room, and she just said, you know, I've been wanting to ask you a question, and I've waited, and now that I know I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to ask you now. And I'm looking at her like, what? You know? And she just said, if you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her like, what? You know, if you were in my shoes and you knew you were going to die in 2 months, what would you do? And that single question set me on a mission and a quest to live a life of purpose, to live a life that really was more than just the expectations that people had of me. And that really woke up to the dream that was inside of myself that I had let die because of the things people said about me or how I grew up. And I think many of us have this. Like, we have these dreams or these ideas, and we think we can't do it because people say we're too fat or too old, or we're a woman, or you're too gay, or you're poor, or you're this, or whatever. And we stop ourselves. You know, we have these things that we limit ourselves on. I find most people that when they close their eyes and they let themselves dream for a second, they can see a life they haven't started living. And when my grandma asked me that question, it woke something up inside of me that made me want to actually live the real dream. And my book is a meditation book, but really it's a book that uses meditation as a tool to help you wake up to the dream that's inside of you. And that's the whole purpose. I mean, you've read it. And that's the whole purpose of the book. It's meditation so that you can take action. Meditation and awareness so that you can do something in your life. And and so I use my grandmother is a huge part of the book, and her wisdom is woven all throughout the book. And she taught me how to cook when I was really young, and it was one of my favorite things that I got to do with her in the kitchen. No, but I was making one years ago. I have all her recipes.
I saw something out there. Yes. You're like, this is the Asian flair. The Latin flair. And and the Italian over here with the garlic and stuff. And I saw you. I could see that.
I love cooking, and the whole book is set up as like a it's like learning to cook, but you're learning to cook up your own recipe of meditation.
Yes. I love that. The book is amazing, you guys. I am so excited. We're going to talk about it right now some more. You got to go get your own copy, though, for every detail in there. But I want to talk about the trilogy that you describe for your meditation.
The Freedom Trinity.
Right? The Freedom Trinity is what you call it.
Yeah. Body, eyes, and breath.
Body,
eyes, and breath. Yeah, that's a Freedom Trinity. And
I love that.
You know, when we talk about it in the book, I kind of have these funny ways that I name some of the words, but really it's the three elements that are absolutely essential to your meditation practice, and it's what you do with your body, what you do with your eyes, and then what you do with your breath to start your practice. And just like when you know, I grew up Catholic, and just like when you're walking into church, you know, you put your finger in the little thing in the holy water, and you know, this is what you do right when you go in. So right when you go into meditation, you also want to use the Freedom Trinity, because it's kind of the set up to your practice. And I want to be very clear that the style of meditation that I teach and what I believe is this is not religious under any stretch of the imagination. I tell people that if the idea of religion offends you, then you can use this practice absolutely, because it's just waking up the greatness that's inside of you. And if you are a spiritual or religious person that practices of any belief, then you can use this practice to help enhance your connection to spirit.
Absolutely. And meditation can enhance every aspect of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that the main thing, to preface any of this with is compassion.
Yeah.
For all different belief systems.
Yeah.
Because I have found people when you're really strong in your belief and you're convinced that you're right, and you have to everyone else is wrong. So I've had people say to me, you know, religion is a trick. It's mind control. All the rules and everything. And then I have really religious people talking about meditation is from the devil.
Yeah, I've heard that my whole life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's very interesting, because you find your own happy place of what you believe.
One of the things that I say in the book, and that I think is really empowering for people, especially anybody who's religious or think that meditation is the devil and all this kind of stuff, which I heard my mom and my grandma, when I first started doing yoga and meditation, they tried to have an intervention because they thought I joined a cult. And so I understand the whole idea around this. And I actually thought when I was younger the same thing. I thought meditation was worshiping the devil. But what I've come to know and my experience with this, and I think the experience of thousands of people that I've worked with, is that if you are a religious person, prayer is when you talk to God. And meditation is when you listen to the voices coming back to you. You listen to those whispers coming back to you. And we spend so much time talking and asking and questioning what we want from the divine, but we spend such little time listening to the answers that are coming back to us. And I believe that God doesn't scream at us until our attention is really needing to be grabbed, but it comes to us in whispers. And if we don't get quiet, we're not going to hear the whispers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We need to feed our soul.
Yeah.
With that
strong
balance.
body, strong soul.
That's right. That's right. Now, before we continue, you know what? I want to read this endorsement, by the way, on your book. You guys, this is from Jon Kabat-Zinn.
Yeah.
Wrote this endorsement on Stay Woke.
I've had the most amazing endorsements. I'm so grateful.
There are so many great ones, but I want to read this one in particular.
Okay.
And we're going to unpack it a little bit,
cool,
because some of the terms in here are just so beautiful.
Wow.
I just really love them.
Let's do it.
And so this is what Jon Kabat-Zinn says. Praise for Stay Woke. The world needs all its flowers, and you are one. Whether for personal stress reduction, for a greater sense of belonging, and being beautiful and okay as you are, or for catalyzing racial, social, and economic justice in our time, this book could be a godsend, a portal into embodied clarity, wakefulness, meaning, and action. Enter, and trust in your capacity to flower in your own way for the sake of the world.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's so amazing.
I know. When he sent that to me, I like almost fell back in my seat.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. It's so good. And absolutely. I mean, all of us, I think throughout any kind of teaching, there's always this idea of put your own face mask on first.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself so that you can help the people around you. So the final sentence,
For the sake
for
of the
sure,
world.
for the sake of the world.
Yeah.
For the sake of the world.
Because when we step into our purpose, we are
Yes.
actually helping the entire world.
Embodied clarity.
Yeah.
Embodied. You're talking about physical movement.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah.
About being comfortable.
Yeah.
While you're meditating.
Yeah, so-
you don't have to sit on the floor and have your legs falling asleep.
No.
Yeah.
Most people think they do.
Right.
Most people think that in order to meditate, they have to sit on the ground, cross-legged, with their hands on their knees, and their back super straight. And it's really funny, actually, because I'll be with people, and they'll be just sitting very comfortably, and I'll say, okay, and I always do this trick when I'm teaching people for the first time. I say, okay, let's meditate. Go ahead and get comfortable. And they were already comfortable. And they do this.
And they get all
And I'm like, is that comfortable? No, you know what I mean? And so it's really fascinating to me when people do that, because it's part of the way we've been trained, because it's the way meditation has been shown to us by the media. But it's actually not. It's not true. So one of my rules that I talk about in the Freedom Trinity is that, like, my number one thing you need to know is, it's a term that my dad used to say. Like, my dad, when like us kids used to be running around like crazy and you know, being nuts, my dad would always go, sit your ass down. And when he said that, we would go from like running around to just like, we're still. And so, like, I tell people that they're
observant.
Yes, we're here. And so I tell people in meditation, you have to sit your ass down, but comfortably.
Yes.
And that means you can sit in a chair, on your bed, with your back up against the wall. If you want to sit with your legs crossed and your spine straight, you can do that too. But when I meditate, it usually looks something like this. Literally, like, it's just chill.
Well, because you're so funny, because you're saying in the book that you've gotten so good at meditation, you can be in an Uber car.
I meditate in Ubers all the time.
Wherever. And no one even needs to know.
No. Airplanes, all of it, you know?
Yeah.
New York subway is a really special one for me too to meditate in. That's always works.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Let's talk about your relationship with the Sanskrit language.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about mantras for a minute too. And I thought that was so interesting to read in the book how you were taught meditation.
Yeah.
And taught in yoga training and such as well, right? Some of the terminology that just gets passed along and not explained.
Never.
Right?
Rarely. Yeah.
And I love that, though, in the book even, you can see your growth. Yeah. And you're like, yes, I've made peace with it now. Yeah. And it's okay. But what does the word mantra mean?
Yeah, so mantra comes from two roots in Sanskrit. Sanskrit being an ancient yogic language. And it comes from two. One is manas, or man, which is the mind, and tra, which is a tool.
Okay.
And these words come together and they mean mantra.
Okay.
And it's funny because I ask a lot of people, how many of you have heard of the word mantra? And most people raise their hand. And I say, how many of you know what it means? And people are like, oh, wait, actually, I don't. Is it an affirmation? Is it? I don't know. I don't actually know what it means, you know?
Right.
And I think and that's what happens so often in spiritual communities and in the wellness space. It's like these concepts have been totally appropriated and taken, and then it's like, okay, use this thing, but you don't need to know where it comes from or what it means.
Right.
And so mantra being a tool of thought, or tool of the mind.
Right.
The way that I describe it is like if you were going to hang up a picture, you would grab a hammer and nails.
Right.
And if you were going to hang up some curtains, you would grab like a drill, you know, and if you need to fix something in your mind, grab a mantra.
I think it's interesting, though, because I think the way you describe it in the book, and I've heard you talk about it in other interviews, about oftentimes when you're working with people, you come up with your mantra.
Yeah.
And the book is very instructional, you guys. It goes through how to set up your meditation.
Generate your own mantra.
And everybody's different.
Yeah.
And all that kind of great stuff.
Yeah.
But the mantra, the word itself, almost seems like it's a description, an embodiment of who you are.
It is.
And it's a reminder of who you are.
Yeah.
Not what's going to happen next, not what you want, nothing. It's who you are.
Who you are. Well, you know, I think the way that I like to talk about it, so in the the way that I teach in freedom meditation and the way that I was actually taught is that the whole point of meditation is to realize that the guru is actually inside of you. And so I guide people through a process of creating their own mantra. And the reason for that is, you know, when people like to get real honest with me about meditation, you know, and I really can kind of get in there with them. And when I ask people what's going on with meditation, most people say, well, I meditate, but it's kind of boring. Or I tried this app for a little while, but I'm not sticking anymore. And I think the reason why that happens to people, it's not that any of those things are bad. I think all these practices are amazing. But what I find is that most people are being prescribed mantras that they don't need. They don't feel. They don't need. And it's like if I'm let's say I'm getting ready to go on stage or do an interview like this, and like typically what I need in my system and in my being is something like power or magnetism or authenticity or an open heart. But if I'm plug in my meditation app and it's like peace, peace. I'm like, I don't need peace. I need power. You know, but people don't know how to self-generate that on their own. So I guide people through. And people have come up with different things. I've heard everything from salty rocks as somebody's mantra because their father used to surf, and when she was a little girl, she would lay on the salty rocks on the beach, and it reminds her of being peaceful. And I remember this one young guy named Galen. He was in a class with me, and we come around, and people say these really sweet mantras like love and hope and peace. And we get to Galen, and he goes, "My mantra is Beyonce." And I was like, Galen, and I got it. He was like, just that confidence and that ferocity and that power. Like, so it can be anything, but it has to be something that makes you come alive. And that's how meditation becomes a treat and not a chore.
Right. I think sometimes when I speak to other people and I'm teaching, sometimes the things that I share, that I just have this feeling that they need to hear, and it resonates with them. But then I realize it's really for me. So the other day, after I was meditating and reading your book, my mantra was, "You're adorable, sexy, and well-spoken."
Yes.
Like, those three things.
Those were your words.
Packed together.
Great.
Yeah, it was so funny because I don't know, it just flowed.
Yep.
And I was laughing because I actually told somebody, I was like, say this in the mirror for 21 days, right? It's like one of the things you talk about in the book, by the way, too, is that 21-day time clock.
That's a myth.
I know.
Yes.
I know. And I love that. Like, seriously, in that book, several things like that. You talk about,
Yeah, do you want me to tell people here what it is?
Let's talk about the 21 days to change your life.
It's really fascinating. So the 21-day thing where most people think, oh, it takes 21 days to make or break a habit, blah, 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 blah. It is a wives' tale. It is the longest game of telephone. It's not true. There's no scientific backing behind it whatsoever. The real science, actually, so I have a section in the book that talks about the truth about habit building and how we actually form a habit. And this you can use for meditation or any other habit in your life.
Right.
And one of the things that I love is an easy hack that you listening can use is a great thing to building a habit. And I didn't actually put this in the book because I learned it after I finished the book. So this is just for you guys.
Top secret.
Is when you try to integrate a new habit into your life, if you do it just before or just after something else that's already a habit in your life, it's easier to make the habit.
Okay.
And so, for example, let's say you make coffee every single morning. That's something that's already a habit in your routine. If you're trying to meditate, you should say, okay, I'm going to meditate either just before or just after I make my coffee. And because your coffee thing is already a routine, it's easier to tack it on.
Okay.
So that's one. And then number two is the science has shown it takes anywhere from 18 and 254 days to make or break a habit, depending on the habit that you're dealing with, the motivations behind the change, and how kind you are to yourself when you fall off track, which is really important because what they found is that even if you fall off track for a day or so, as long as you get back on the horse with compassion for yourself, without beating yourself up about it, it won't affect the long-term habit formation process. And so, you know, the reason the big range from 18 to 254 days, it can sound like a big range, it's because obviously like drinking a glass of water every day is a much easier habit to build than running a mile every day.
Right.
So it just kind of depends on what that habit is.
Well, and when you fall off, knowing that falling off doesn't come with punishment.
No.
Yeah.
You just start again.
That's powerful,
and it's a real great example for the way that I even teach meditation. It's like, if your mind starts wandering all over the place in meditation, it's going to happen. The human mind wanders, I think they found in the study, like 47% of the time. So half of our lives we're mind wandering.
Right.
It's actually great. It's actually normal. It's actually very useful. If our minds were not able to wander, if we weren't able, so the opposite of mind wandering is being totally focused in the present moment, right? If we were unable to mind wander, we would not be able to reflect on the past. We wouldn't be able to learn because our minds wouldn't be able to leave what's happening now. So mind wandering is not this bad thing. It's actually something that's useful in our evolution.
Right. Awesome. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is about, I love it the way you describe the 6 senses.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And snacks are in there.
Yeah.
So it still has to do with
I love
food,
it. All the food coming through. Yeah.
Yes, but I think it's so interesting because tell everybody about how you get in tune with how you relate to the world.
Yeah.
Right?
This is
you
beautiful.
have 6 different
So
things.
I call it the 6S thought spectrum.
Okay.
And it's the way that everybody experiences thoughts in what I find in 6 different categories. And I have a little way that I do it with my body so people can remember it. So it's sights, sounds, smells, snacks, sensations, and sentiments. Sights, did I get all of them? Sights, sounds, smells, snacks, sensations, and sentiments. Yes, that's 6. So it's very clear. It's like, when you're thinking about something, if I tell you to think of an ocean and you experience sights, you'll see an ocean or the waves in your head. If you're sounds, you'll hear the sound of the waves. If you're sense, you might smell the salty air or a pina colada or something. Snacks, you might actually taste something that you're salty or something from the ocean. Sensations is you might actually feel the cold breeze or the cold water on your skin. And sentiments is your emotional field. So it's like, oh, the beach makes you feel relaxed. So you might start to feel relaxed if I say think of an ocean. And so there are these 6 different ways that we all experience thought. And some people, we all kind of have our own unique recipe of how we do it. So for me, I'm very visual. So I am very much sights and I'm very much sounds. I can also be very much sentiments too, but it just kind of depends. We all experience all 6, but there's some, if you close your eyes right now, if you're listening to this or watching this, and I say, okay, imagine the most beautiful place you've ever been. Try it. You try it. So imagine the most beautiful place you've ever been. Just notice it in your mind and let it expand. What form of thoughts are you experiencing right now? Are you seeing it, hearing it, tasting it, smelling it?
I'm feeling the wind.
You're feeling it. So there you have sensations.
And my feet too.
See?
I'm barefoot on sand.
Wow, so you have a very strong sensation element. Are there anything else coming in? Do you see anything? Do you hear anything?
Color. I see color.
See?
Yeah.
So you have these too, which is fantastic, and everybody's going to have their own thing. And here's why this is important. This is important because I remember the first time this was my first time, one of my first times meditating. And I was in class and the teacher said, and at this point in my life, I actually was not, it's shifted for me. I didn't used to resonate with sights at all. I didn't used to be able to have images, but for some reason now I do. When I was younger, I didn't. And I was in my first meditation and the woman goes, okay, I want you to imagine a river. And so I'm trying to imagine this river. She's like, and now imagine a boat on the river. And I still didn't see the damn river. And then she's like, and now imagine you get inside the boat and you're rowing the boat. And I'm like, oh my God, like I must be doing this meditation thing all wrong because I don't see any of this stuff. I've never even been to a river in my real life, so I don't know what this looks like. And I was young. And like growing up, I wasn't around nature like that. So I really had trouble with this. And I thought, okay, meditation must not be for me. But if she would have said, okay, I want you to try to imagine a river and you might hear the sounds of the river or you might feel yourself in the water or you might see a river in a boat, or you might whatever, you know? Now it gives me different entry points, and I think everybody has their own way of experiencing thought.
Right, I agree. In the book, you have so many different tools in there. I love it, by the way. The book begins with you signing. It's accountability. And I love the formatting of the book because I myself have so many different journals around.
Yeah.
And I'll take them to different workshops and I'll do stuff. But I love it that you can write in the book.
Yeah, this is a book that's like you want to get messy and write it, and there's space for writing. And,
yes. And like we were saying, the mantra itself and so much of what you learn on your journey can change.
Yeah.
You know, those 6 S's, right, can change how you do stuff, how you view the world. But you have questions in there, and you have so many diagrams and charts and space in the book for journal entries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
It's essential.
So how did you come up with that idea of doing it that way?
I just thought, so this is the thing. For me, the whole point of the book is for people to be able to implement this stuff into their lives and take action. And so my idea for the book was to guide people through step-by-step ways that they can go into their internal process. And then I ask questions that help them see how they can apply some of this stuff to their lives. And then I give them an action step to do it.
Nice.
And so you get to choose whether or not you take the action. But so many times we're given these practices and we're not given tools to reflect on them properly.
Right.
So I really wanted people to have the space to understand and unpack the different practices in a way that they can understand how to take action for their lives, for their families, for their communities, and for the planet.
Nice. I want to tie this into social media, by the way.
Great.
In the old days, you used to have diaries with a lock on them.
Yep, I had one.
Right?
A journal.
So no one could read it. And we're all worried. Nowadays, it seems like we put so much personal stuff out there for everyone to read. There isn't a lot of block necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's almost like more friendly now,
Yeah.
the way you've done the book.
Yeah.
Because in the old way of thinking, you'd be nervous
Yeah.
to write your deepest, darkest mantra.
Yeah.
Your negative. What don't you like about yourself
Yeah.
on some of these things? And you're worried that someone's going to pick it up and read it.
Right.
You know, and I think the mentality has changed a little bit in the growth of people being able to expand their consciousness. I love it that you can write in the book.
Yeah, me too.
Where the actual information is.
Yeah, so you can refer back to it in an easy way versus going between these journals and stuff like that.
And I love the people that you use in the book
thank
as
you.
examples.
Yeah.
Because you give such a great example of who they are, what their background is, and what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And chances are the readers
Are going to relate.
are totally going to relate.
Yeah.
Have something in common with those people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really great.
Thank
It's
you.
really great. Now, I wanted to ask you about some of the journeys that you've been on during the course of writing the book.
Yeah.
Like, you've been speaking all over the world.
Yeah.
At Sounds True.
Yeah.
At the Gathering
Yep.
in Santa Cruz a
Yep.
few months ago. You were coming in from somewhere. Texas?
I was coming in from Texas, and before that I was in, God, I had been, who knows, all over the place.
And you're speaking to thousands of people.
Yeah, sometimes there's smaller
Tony
groups,
Robbins,
sometimes
watch
they're
out.
companies. Yeah, sometimes it's companies, sometimes it's organizations, sometimes it's nonprofits or small groups or big groups, or it just depends.
Phenomenal. And so you're away a lot.
Yeah.
You're able to travel though.
Often.
And Estonia. Tell me about Estonia.
Oh, Estonia was so funny. So the Estonia Yoga Festival, the founder of it, Merit, she reached out to me and said, would you ever come to Estonia? And it was really funny because I was like, I don't even know where that is. You know, I had no idea. I was like, where is that in the world? And so I looked it up, and they had this yoga festival, and they had me come, and I was the headlining teacher, which was a dream. It was my first festival that I've headlined ever, like as the main teacher, and also it was international, which was fantastic. And it was really fun to be a teacher there and see the different ways that they have their own social justice issues happening in a country like that, right next to Russia, and how similar, you know, so many of us are in certain ways.
Right.
And with the struggles that we're facing in our daily lives. And so I was really proud to see how much of the teachings really crossed over into this completely different environment.
Well, I think that's just such a beautiful thing that social media
Yeah.
makes it possible.
Yeah, it's globalized our world. for the good or the bad or whatever it is it has. Yeah.
Well, it makes it possible to connect with like-minded people.
She found me on social media.
That is so awesome. And some of your
worth
webinars, your classes,
Yeah.
some of them, I see you saying, oh, I'm so excited. There are 800 people on here from 20 countries.
Yep.
And then the next one, there are 1,200 people from like 30 countries.
Yeah, I've had
and it just
really
keeps
great time.
expanding.
Yeah.
And it's just so amazing.
Thank you.
It really is.
Thank you.
And I think going to that authenticity and getting in touch with who we are, sometimes we tend to edit ourselves to the people who we are closest to.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you expand and you give yourself permission to be who you really are and own it, it takes on a whole different dimension. And
completely.
And sometimes the people around you probably are going, what? Is this Justin?
Yeah.
Like at first they were probably saying, what is he talking about?
Well, you evolve.
And,
You have to evolve. And, you know, everybody doesn't come along for the ride.
But that, and then you make more friends.
Yes, that are in alignment with who you really are.
Right.
You know, and we grow and we evolve and we change. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is toxic people. And I think that it's so important to make sure that who we're surrounding ourselves with are people who are in alignment with the vision that we see for ourselves and the lives that we hope to have and the lives that we're living. And so sometimes we have to protect our energy.
Right.
And I think that you don't have to feel bad about that.
Right. Now, I'm going to start to wrap up, but I want to talk to you for a minute about just back to the sexuality thing.
Yeah, of course.
Because I noticed in the book, you said one of your meditations opened up a new direction for you, kind of, you said. And you said, in the book, it says, that's the topic for another book.
Oh.
So I was just kind of
you
curious.
caught that.
I did
That
catch
was a
that.
good joke.
I did catch that.
That was a little joke in the book. That was a little joke in the book.
Like,
oh my God, you're the first person to ask me that. You're the first person to ask me that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'll leave that as a little surprise for people.
Yeah. Okay.
That's really funny. I was like, oh, what is she talking about?
I caught that.
That's great.
You're like, that's the topic of another book.
Yeah.
So do you have any ideas about any future books
I will definitely, this is the thing that I'll say, I will definitely be writing another book.
I just love it.
There's no shadow of a doubt about that because I loved the process.
That's great.
So much. It was just the most incredible process for me and my publisher and my editor, Jennifer Brown, and Sounds True, and everybody, and my agent, everybody was just a dream for me. And I just thank them over and over and over. And Gareth Asarsky, who helped me with the conception of this book, and Zena and Jennifer and Jade and Tammy, and I've had so much support and so much support that I was able to really go into the creator's cave and really birth something that I think we're all so proud of. And a lot of people say writing a book is like torture, or they have these horror stories about writing a book. That was not my experience. I would roll up my sleeves and do it again right now.
Yay!
So there will definitely be another book coming. I don't know what it is just yet. I have several ideas kind of knocking on my door.
Percolating, yes.
So we'll see.
Yes. And the more you teach,
the more
you learn.
Yeah.
Of course. So what's your next thing coming up in 2020?
In February.
Yes.
So we are going on the Stay Woke Give Back tour.
Oh, yes.
Which is the part of this that's actually the most exciting to me.
Yes.
So one of the things that's happening right now that is really empowering and exciting is instead of going on the traditional book tour, which there will be dates for people to come and I'll be in conversation, but instead of doing it that way, we are going on what we're calling a give back tour. We're going to high schools and we're going to colleges in some of the most impacted cities in the United States, places like Flint, Michigan, and Atlanta, and Chicago, and Georgia. Going to these impacted cities, and we're giving away books, and we're doing big events, and we've created a text messaging system that guides students through a 40-day meditation practice for long-term support. And it's just so exciting to me to be going on the road and serving kids who grew up often like I did, you know, and need and would benefit from a message of hope and inspiration and empowerment to see what's possible for them.
I have a gift for you.
You have a gift for me?
I do. I have a gift for you.
Okay.
I have a gift for you.
Oh my gosh.
And it kind of goes along with the thing we were talking about about Sanskrit,
Yeah.
this book right here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Do you have
God.
this book?
No, I don't, but I've wanted this book. I'm so getting into
I love
coloring
this book.
books.
Really?
Yes.
This one is special.
You guys, it's a spiritual
Yes.
coloring book.
Yes.
Enchanted mandalas. Oh,
Yes.
this is fun. Okay,
Yes.
tell me why you chose this one.
This book is created by my teacher. Her name is Alina. This is Alina Shalev.
Oh, hi, Alina.
She is a beautiful, beautiful soul. And so I brought this book for you because I wanted to gift it to you. It's one of the only ones, it is the only one that's considered, or it was when it was published, a spiritual coloring book.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really amazing. I love it a lot.
I'm so excited about this.
I love it a lot. Each of the mandalas that are in here they're all different. And you can play with it however you want.
This is so stunning.
It's really amazing. Each of them is the whole page. Each of these mandalas has a little heart in it. Some of them have a lot of hearts.
Yeah, but some of them has
Some
at
of
least
them
one
don't,
little heart.
and it's hiding in there.
Oh.
So you can meditate and just go with it. And I have learned some of the most amazing things from coloring. I'm not an artistic person very much necessarily. Some of the things that I've learned are it's okay to go outside the lines.
Yes.
I mean, so when you sit there and you take the time,
Yeah.
it's really magical.
I love that you said that. I'm remember to go outside the lines. This
It's
is fantastic.
okay
This is beautiful.
It's fantastic.
I'm so
I love
excited.
it.
Thank
I
you.
love
What a
it.
beautiful
Yes.
gift. I'm so grateful.
Yes. I wanted to bring that to you. Thank
you.
you so much. Enchanted mandalas. Yes. Now, this particular book, Stay Woke, I forgot to ask you, will you please explain to everybody, where does the word
Woke. Yeah,
come
people
from?
are always really surprised about this. So
Yeah.
woke actually, people think it's like some trendy word that came around just a few years ago, but the word woke actually comes from the 1960s is when it first started being used by African American people. Started off on the East Coast. I think it was first kind of recorded of it being used in New York. And black people in the 60s who were fighting for their rights and fight like we are today, and but in a different way, and dealing with segregation and these different types of oppression. And they use the word woke to say that, like, hey, you better be paying attention to what the system is doing to us. You better stay awake. So it has this social justice lean, and the word woke has been a part of the African American community and a word that has been around for, decades. And just in the last few years, sometimes
It's getting on T-shirts,
yeah,
and coffee mugs,
yeah,
and all that stuff.
it's becoming
more mainstream,
appropriated.
which is good.
In some ways.
Yeah.
In some ways, and in some ways it's good because people are understanding what it means to be woke, but in some ways it's diluting the word. And I think that it's important to know that the way that I'm using it here in this context is really like, let us stay woke to the things that are happening in our world and in our life that are stopping us and holding us back from becoming who we are meant to be. And for everybody, those things are going to be different. And that's why I don't really name in the book like, oh, you should be woke to just this or to just this.
Right.
I name some things, but you're going to know what it is for you in your life that's stopping to you, and the vision that you have for the world, and the vision you have for equality, and the vision you have for your future and your family. And we have to stay woke and stay aware and stay awake.
Right.
We can't go to sleep in this time. This is a time for us to really be present and to take action.
I love that. And I love the way you explain in the book, too. We owe it to the people that came before us.
Yes.
To get us to this point.
Yes.
To not forget what they have gone through.
Yeah, think about it.
And grown, and we want to propel it forward.
So many people in the past, in history, have never had the chance to think about things like mental health or life purpose or manifesting or whatever, like thoughts creating reality, which is a whole topic in the book too. Well. But like the thing is we are the first generation, for many of us, especially if we're talking about people of color and different communities. Many of us are the first generation with the opportunity to think about these things, and the opportunity to have the agency to choose our life.
Right.
And so this is a moment of real power, and it's honoring the shoulders that we stand on.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about manifesting, let's just say meditation, contemplation, getting in touch with who you are. doesn't mean you just sit there
No.
and hope things happen.
No, you got to get your ass up off the pillow and do something.
I love that, the way you say that in the book, too.
Yeah.
It's about action.
Yeah.
Taking action on those connections.
Like what's happening in the world today, like it's one thing to be aware and to sit and send loving kindness and send compassion. And I think that is all absolutely important. I do it all the time. It's essential. That can't be it.
Right.
That can't be it. We, the spiritual people, we need to wake up.
Yeah.
Like we need to like not just wake up, but like now go do something.
Right.
We're aware.
Yes.
We feel. We send loving kindness. We do this. Now get off your ass and do something.
Yes.
And that's what this book is trying to wake us up to.
Yes. And the book is a recipe.
Yeah.
To help make that happen.
Yeah.
Everybody reading the book can take your guidance and create their own plan of action.
That's the goal.
Of action.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much,
Thank you,
Justin.
Maria.
Oh
Such
my
an honor.
gosh. Go buy the book. Buy his album too.
Yes,
Metamorphosis. I love it. You were so amazing on stage.
And I also want to
in
say
Santa
that
Cruz.
if people want to give to our mission to bring mindfulness to schools.
Yes.
This is a huge mission. They can just go to staywokegiveback.org.
Okay.
Staywokegiveback.org. Very importantly, and that will take you to the Sounds True Foundation website, and you can donate as little as $8. That's how much it costs to give this movement to one child, and upwards of whatever it is that you feel comfortable with. And we take donations of any amount. They're all tax deductible, and every single dollar goes towards this mission to bringing mindfulness into communities that are really dealing with a lot of difficulty, like trauma and gun violence and homophobia and oppression, and we're really trying to bring that into as many communities as possible.
Right, and it's 10 cities.
We're starting with 10 cities, and we want to take it all over.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it'll be in the show notes, the link to that.
Great.
But just also to explain for everybody, Sounds True itself has been around for a long time as a publishing house, as a business. But Tammy Simon has just, in the last year, developed the foundation, the nonprofit foundation.
Right.
So they are able to work hand in hand, and that nonprofit foundation is able to help support programs like this that are so amazing.
To give back to the
world.
world.
But they need help.
Yeah.
The foundation itself.
Can't do it all on its own.
Yeah. And you're going to be going to these cities.
Yes, I'm going.
Tour.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're so lucky to have you.
Thank
Are you going to
you.
sing?
Yes, of course I'm going to sing.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Of course I'm going to sing.
Love that.
So that'll be really
I love
good.
That.
Yeah.
So speaking of singing, we're going to play some of your music.
Fantastic.
So I hope you guys enjoy some of Justin's Metamorphosis album.
Thank you.
And go buy the book.
Thank you
Stay
so much.
woke.
Yes, thank you, Maria.
Yay.
I wish you were here with me. I know you're in the air I breathe. I wish you were here to see.
This song is called Here With Me. It is from Justin's Metamorphosis album. He wrote it for his grandmother. I hope you had fun listening to this conversation right now. Remember, this is the Strong Body, Strong Soul show. I am Maria, and this is a 2-part interview series. In part 2, Justin and I will be talking about his personal experience with an eating disorder. We will also be talking a little bit about celibacy. That's right, and that second chakra energy. It's going to be a fun conversation. We continue in part 2. Make sure you get on over there too if you want to hear more of our conversation. Thank you for spending some of your time here at the show. And please go support the Sounds True Foundation so that they can support more people like Justin in their work in this world. I am Maria, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share anything here. Make sure that you check the show notes here so that you can find Justin out there in the world. Make sure you go buy the Stay Woke book. And make sure you click that like button and leave comments if you like on this particular interview and the next one.